First Lady is taking on several media outlets that she says printed false reports about her personal life. Now Melania is threatening to sue. Les Trent.
Funny thing to say. He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood.
Jimmy Kimmel. For the fourth time, Kimmel hosted the Oscars before an adoring crowd of Hollywood stars who laughed and curried favor with the man who wore blackface so many times he's second only to Justin Trudeau in his fondness for the practice. Yes, some of the very same celebrities who wanted you to believe they were horrified, after yours truly said in 2018 that people used to don dark makeup in order to imitate well-known black celebrities and it wasn't a big deal.
Jimmy Kimmel just got dragged into the fire. And this time, the flames came with a $100 million lawsuit and zero network protection. Melania Trump dropped the legal hammer, and before the echo faded, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly stepped up to finish the job. Rogan didn't hold back. He cracked into Kimmel like he was dissecting a failed ideology, not a comedian. "This is what happens," he said, "when you trade jokes for political sermons."
And you need to defend yourself all the time. As you may heard, I file a few lawsuits and I'm in the court now because they accuse me of doing stuff that I never did in my life.
Kimmel wasn't just exposed, he was demolished, live and unfiltered, by the very voices he used to mock. Megyn Kelly, she came in like a legal buzzsaw. She didn't just question Kimmel's credibility, she shredded it. "This isn't comedy anymore," she said. "It's state-sponsored smugness disguised as satire." Her takedown wasn't emotional, it was surgical. And now, the guy who once played America's sarcastic class clown is standing center stage, minus the laughter, trying to explain why he's not the villain in a story he wrote himself. It's not just karma. It's the full-circle collapse of late-night hypocrisy. The truth? Kimmel built his fame on mocking others. Now, he's the punchline.
Last night was the 96th Academy Awards show, and while you might have missed it, there was one clear winner. No, not Oppenheimer. It was sanctimonious leftists for their lead role in pretending they are better than you. Winner number one, Jimmy Kimmel.
And the crowd, they're not laughing. They're watching the fallout. There's nothing bold about reading cue cards in a suit while pretending to be edgy. That's the sad magic trick Jimmy Kimmel's been pulling for years. And now the curtain's ripped wide open. Joe Rogan didn't just criticize it, he dismantled it, laughing at the manufactured applause, the teleprompter timing, and the clap now signs flashing like a low-budget sitcom. "This isn't comedy," Rogan said. "It's performance art for coastal elites." They're not telling jokes, they're reading scripts with a laugh track. But the real kicker? Kimmel punching down and calling it activism. That's what made Rogan snap. The late-night crusader who preaches empathy mocked Melania Trump's accent like that made him brave. A woman who's never held office, never ran for anything, just became the target of his recycled smugness. And when she finally clapped back, with a $100 million lawsuit, Kimmel's camp panicked and started yelling about free speech like it was some ancient relic they just found buried under their hypocrisy. And then Megyn Kelly twisted the knife. She reminded the world how Hollywood's outrage machine short circuits when it's one of their own. They cried foul over past blackface jokes, unless it was Jimmy Kimmel in full makeup playing Karl Malone, complete with a mock accent. Then, crickets. Applause even. Rogan saw right through it. He hides behind comedy when he's cruel, but hides behind victimhood when he gets called out. And suddenly, the guy who never missed a chance to mock others needed a legal team and a box of tissues to defend himself. This isn't about satire being attacked. It's about accountability finally knocking on the studio door. Joe Rogan didn't just laugh, he called it. In the Trump era, yes, President Trump again, Jimmy Kimmel made a career mocking a family that never punched back. But now, Melania flipped the script, and suddenly, Kimmel's the one on defense. Rogan laid it out. Melania was mocked for years. Her accent, her silence, her role. Now she's firing back with a $100 million lawsuit, and Jimmy's hiding behind PR spin. And the timing? Even sweeter with Trump back in office. Poetic, But the knockout came from Megyn Kelly. She didn't walk in. She stormed the courtroom spotlight. To her, Kimmel wasn't a comedian anymore. He was the fraud finally exposed. The man who traded in frat boy gags for fake moral sermons, who mocked Melania as arm candy while preaching feminism from a cue card. Megyn shredded the act. Kimmel's not brave, he's performative. And this lawsuit, it's not about censorship. It's about payback. Real, painful, 6-0 payback. She mocked his meltdown, his spin, and his sudden claim to victimhood. And now, Jimmy isn't writing the jokes. He is the joke. And everyone's watching. Jimmy Kimmel's show cost tens of millions to produce, packed with writers, applause signs, and bloated studio budgets. And for what? A dwindling audience barely cracking 1.5 million. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson, sitting in a cabin with zero budget, pulls in 21 million views with nothing but a webcam and a take. Megyn Kelly didn't just hit Kimmel with criticism, she exposed the transformation. The guy who once hosted frat boy skits now pretends to be the moral conscience of late night. It's not growth, she said. It's rebranding. Comedy replaced with lectures, laughs swapped for likes, and still, he's recycling Trump jokes in Trump's second term like the country hasn't moved on. But it has. And now, Kimmel's the punchline. His audience isn't clapping. They're watching him unravel. Megyn called the lawsuit what it is. Accountability. Kimmel spent years mocking Melania's accent and Trump's hair. Now, he's crying victim while his PR team leaks sympathy stories about stress. But the numbers don't lie. Tucker's winning, Kimmel's fading, and the man who once claimed to speak truth to power is learning that mockery without consequence was a luxury, not a right. The truth, Kimmel's not leading a cultural conversation. He's a relic. And the audience has left the building. Joe Rogan didn't just take aim, he peeled the layers off Jimmy Kimmel like a tired old sticker that had long stopped sticking. The man who once danced around in beer-soaked bits had somehow rebranded himself as America's comedic conscience. But now, with Trump back in the White House and Melania's lawsuit hanging over his head like a wrecking ball, Kimmel's mask was melting in real time. Rogan didn't miss the symbolism. Kimmel's fall wasn't about one joke gone wrong. It was the crash of an entire generation of comedians who swapped edge for echo chambers. Late night had once been wild, dangerous, even rebellious. Now, it's therapy for overpaid ideologues with punchlines that land like public service announcements. And Jimmy, he's the poster boy of that decay, the joke that stopped being funny and started sounding like homework. Megyn Kelly stepped in like she was delivering the final arguments in a case she'd been prepping for years. She didn't just criticize Kimmel, she dismantled the entire facade. The moral sermons, the tearful monologues, the crowd-pleasing jabs at Melania. All of it was exposed as theater. And now, the theater lights are off, and the audience is gone. Kelly called out the industry's cowardice. The same Hollywood machine that claims to champion women suddenly forgot Melania even existed the moment she lawyered up. No hashtags, number believe women. No A-listers tripping over themselves to defend her dignity. Why? Because she's not part of their clique. She's not useful. She's inconvenient. And the numbers? Brutal. Kimmel, with his massive budget and primetime real estate, barely scrapes 1.5 million viewers. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson grabs 20 million eyeballs with a cabin and a webcam. Gutfeld dominates late night on cable. Fallon, Myers, Colbert, all tanking. Legacy media is bleeding, and Kimmel is the face on the billboard nobody looks at anymore. Rogan mocked the desperation. Kimmel's team now leaks sob stories to the press, begging for sympathy, pushing headlines about emotional stress. Joe laughed. So let me get this straight. The guy who spent years punching down is now playing the victim because someone finally punched back? The irony was too rich. Then came the Oscars. Kimmel hosted again, strutting across the stage like he hadn't been served legal papers just weeks earlier. He played it safe, played it smug, and played to a crowd that pretends the walls aren't caving in. Megyn took aim at the entire spectacle. He's not fearless, she said. He's just insulated. But insulation doesn't work in court. And while the Hollywood elite clapped along, hoping the lawsuit would just fade away, Megyn knew better. The silence from his peers said it all. They weren't defending him. They were distancing themselves. The minute clapping became risky, the applause died. As Kelly put it, this wasn't the death of comedy. It was the birth of accountability. Kimmel had fired darts from a studio desk for years. Now, one came back. And this one had a lawyer's signature on it. Joe's final word was poetic. Kimmel wouldn't be remembered as the bold voice who stood up to power. He'd be remembered as the overpaid host who got sued by the First Lady for mocking her one too many times. And as Joe smirked, he said what everyone was already thinking. In Trump's second term, karma didn't just show up. It brought legal documents, public receipts, and a cultural reckoning. And while the courts figure out the damages, the verdict in the real world is already clear. Jimmy Kimmel played the wrong game with the wrong person at the worst possible time.